It has its own rookie first-team All-Pro and linebacker Darius Leonard. Back when the Colts got off to that slow 1-5 start, they were giving up an average of 30 points a game. Only 2 NFL defenses were worse than that. Since then, no defense has given up fewer points than the Colts. But when you say that, for the sake of accuracy, you also have to point this out. Yes, the Colts defense has gotten better, obviously, but they haven't exactly been playing a murderer's row of offenses. In the last 10 games, the Colts have played the Dolphins, the Bills, the Raiders, the Jags twice, and the Titans twice, all of which rank among the worst offenses in the NFL. Just saying. James?
Well, everyone in this stadium who's a Houston Texans fan is looking forward to Deshaun Watson's very first NFL playoff game. But talking to people around the organization, they may be more excited than the fans. They feel like the reason why they traded up to get Deshaun Watson is because when the lights are the brightest and the games are the biggest, that's when Deshaun Watson plays his best. They think it's just an innate trait about him that he goes out and turns it up a notch. And what he has done throughout this season as his offense continues to evolve, you see him use his legs more as the season's gone on, and he's protected the football. 7 picks in the first 6 games, 2 picks over the last 10. When you talk to quarterback coach Sean Ryan, he'll say, we're finding our balance. What he has in terms of instincts and playmaking ability, Colleen, that's what makes him special. We're still holding on to those aspects.
Yeah, James, we have seen Deshaun Watson use his legs more. He's led the team in rushing the last 4. He's been phenomenal in that respect. James, thank you. So let's talk about this. How will Bill O'Brien and Deshaun Watson attack the Colts defense?
Well, when you look at the last 4 weeks especially, Bill O'Brien has been calling more quarterback design runs. In the first 13 weeks of the season, he only called 9 quarterback design runs involving the read option. Now that number has jumped up to 17, and Deshaun Watson is starting to keep the ball a lot more. On those plays, 111 rush yards, 9 first downs, giving this offense an opportunity to get the ball a little bit more. But I want fans to take a look at this week. If the Indianapolis Colts, when they defend this read option, how many times they force Deshaun Watson to cut the ball up so they can get an extra hit on him. To me, that's going to be the key to the game. If he takes too many of those hits, then to me, that stops some of his touch passes down the football field. So you got to limit the shots, but Deshaun has to learn how to get down, get out of bounds, do something so that he doesn't get hit as much.
Yeah, he's got to get rid of the ball quicker, for sure.
He needs to, but you just got to understand, too, he just has that it factor. You know, when he lines up, I'm excited to watch this game because you have Andrew Luck who utilizes getting out of the pocket and getting away, throwing the ball. He's being smarter. And we're talking about a young guy with fresher legs. We're saying for him to be smarter. But also, too, Deshaun Watson just is that guy. He is one of the young stars. If he can protect himself, he will be a staple, the same way we're talking about Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers.
He's part of the next group that's coming up.
He is part of that next group of guys, but he has the intelligence from the shoulders up. He has it. He hasn't even hit the ceiling, and what he has from the shoulders down is unbelievable. But what are these guys gonna do outside of DeAndre Hopkins? We need to see some of those guys and also running the ball effectively.
Yes.
Lamar Miller. What is he going to do? Because you cannot expect to go into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl, just relying on one guy. That's not going to work for them.
Or 2. I mean, we talked a couple of weeks ago before the Jets game when they played up at MetLife Stadium about how their running game, when I spoke to Bill O'Brien, he says, when we're going good, we've got 3 guys. We've got Deshaun Watson contributing with his legs. We've got Lamar Miller going. And Alfred Blue is giving them 35 to 50 yards per game, and that's how they're going to have to do it in the postseason. They're going to have to get all 3 of those guys going. They did not do it down the stretch, and when this team doesn't run the ball, they're in trouble. And you look at that, Mike Robb, we've talked about when Deshaun Watson is running that option. You've got to respect him, so that creates lanes for those running backs. They've got to get it going and get back clicking as a whole on this running game.
More space, and it does seem like when Deshaun Watson is involved in the quarterback run game early in the game, he becomes alive. He gets into the game. That always happens when you talk about movement quarterbacks.
His protection, though, has to improve. No quarterback with more sacks has ever made the playoffs before.
But you know what, Colleen? A lot of that is, and I always call Deshaun Deshaun Watson a reincarnate of Steve McNair. He's always fighting on every single play, and that's what gets him into trouble, and that's why he takes so many sacks.
That Colts front, though, was really good in the last meeting. They got after him.
Watson's got, at times, really good instincts about what's happening behind him, so he always thinks like he can escape, and that's why he'll hold it a little bit longer and try and make a play. He's got to get a little better about knowing when you can do that and when you can't do that. Exactly. You're right, Mike.
All right, so from today's starting game to tomorrow's, we know the Chiefs and Patriots will be paying attention to what's happening in Houston and in Baltimore. Top two seeds will host this weekend's winners. The Ravens and Chargers square up tomorrow after an epic Saturday night game. Just two are back. And Steve, fill us in on the Chargers side of things.
Well, Colleen, we know the Chargers, they're unbeaten outside of Los Angeles. And this week, players said when they play on the road, they feel they've got a uniting force. They've got a really good away from Los Angeles practice regimen that they feel comfortable with. But privately, players and coaches have told me for weeks they feel that they actually play 16 road games. It's no secret that their fan base has yet to really latch on in Los Angeles. There's a lot of opposing fans in their stadium, so they feel they've always dealt with hostile crowds. They have to practice with crowd noise and hand signals all the time. So it's 16 weeks of basically playing on the road. That's why they feel comfortable coming to M&T Bank Stadium tomorrow. Also, the fact that they just lost 2 weeks ago, the cut is still fresh. They figure that if they keep the turnovers to a minimum and play physically, they'll have a good chance, as rookie All-Pro safety Derwin James says. We know we've got to come with it with these guys. Let's get it. Now, for more on the Ravens, let's go to Aditi Kinkhabwala.
Well, Steve, John Harbaugh's mantra has effectively, essentially, been let's get it too. Let's go back a little bit. The Ravens at their bye were sitting at 4-5. Many people across the country felt that this was the end for John Harbaugh. What have the Ravens done since then? They've only won 6 of 7. They've been playing the playoffs essentially since then. The key, sure, Lamar Jackson starting at that time, but receiver Willie Snead told me it's really been Harbaugh. He said Harbaugh is the one that kept this team steady. Harbaugh, who said, let's just get one win at a time. He told his team then, Snead told me, that I'm not going anywhere. Stop worrying about that. I still believe in all of you. And Snead told me, at that point, we all sold out for Coach Harbs. Mike?
Aditi, you're right about that. And it's been like that a lot of times recently for the Ravens, where it didn't look so good early in the season, yet they're always seem to be alive at the end. So I'm sure that the previous experience helped him in that regard, Steve. But let's talk about Lamar Jackson. This offense, you've been watching it. What makes him so tough to stop here?
Well, really what I love about this offense and why this is a great matchup for the Chargers is because the Chargers are hybrid type of defense. They're playing the Chiefs twice a year, so understanding that they got to get in the pass game. But that against the Baltimore Ravens is not a good thing because the Baltimore Ravens are 60% of the time running the ball. So you got bigs on top of little guys. That's never a good job. When I talk about bigs, I'm talking about offensive linemen, Marshall Yanda, Jerome Brown Jr., just all these guys that are getting it out there. So one of the things I like to do is, since I'm here on Saturdays now, let's go ahead and drop this Smitty spotlight.
Okay. Look at that fancy graphics.
So what we got right here? We got Darius Philon is right there, and then we got Orlando Brown Jr. that got to double team Marshall Yanda, getting up to the second level. Adrian Phillips is 5'11", 210 pounds. Orlando Brown is slightly bigger by about 150 yards and probably 7 feet tall. But you got Gus Edwards getting out. This is only like the third play of the game, 43 yards. Understanding that when you're running the ball against a hybrid type of defense, it is never going to end well with you. And that's why this matchup is very good, but also makes me wonder, how do you not get comfortable with just running the same plays because they work so well in the run game?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson's been phenomenal. And again, guys, I talk about it every single week. I need my quarterback to be money in pressure situations, whether it's third down and in the fourth quarter. And Lamar Jackson has been excellent in both categories. On third down, he's number 1 in carries with 32 carries. He's number 1 in rush yards with 212 rush yards just on third down with 17 first down conversions. That's second to only Ezekiel Elliott, and Ezekiel Elliott's played the whole season. Lamar Jackson's only played the last 7 7 weeks. And in the fourth quarter, the kid has 120 pass rating. So again, in the pressure situations, at the money times of a game, Lamar Jackson is actually being money, and he's elevated everybody's play around him. Kid's doing a great job.
Just got to make that throw when they need him to make the throw, and he did it against these guys a couple of weeks ago.
He plays quarterback, Jeezy.
Yes,
Quarterbacks throw the football.
He makes the throw. That's all I'm saying is making sure people understand he can throw, he shall throw, and he's been throwing all the time.
So all right, Andrew Luck's been throwing. All quarterbacks in this league have been throwing.
Was that enough subtext for you, Colleen?
I think it was. That was perfect. We're going to talk about the reigning champs coming up, though, versus the league's top defense. Anything can happen. We're live in Chicago for Eagles and Bears. And this was supposed to be a retooling year for the Seahawks.
No, they got their sights set on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I've been talking to them.
It seems like they're really ahead of schedule.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
So we're chatting Russell, Bobby, and Pete. They're talking about the resurgence in Seattle. And before the season started, Mike Rob, you looked into our crystal ball, and you predicted the league MVP as Patrick Mahomes.
That's what I do.
Hey,
So
be
let's
humble.
find out what we're seeing for the postseason.
This is Western society, man. Ain't nobody humble.